versus facts. Ayy, stats versus facts. Ayy, know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He back on the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Stats versus Facts Sports Talk. You know where we at. It's your boy Marshall. I'm here with the crew. What's going on, crew? What it do? What it do?
What's going on?
Yes, sir. We got that man G-Reg. What's going on, G-Reg?
Nothing much. I still need money.
Still need money. Yes, sure. And it ain't funny. We do need that money. Get that moolah.
I can tell you.
Got that man with us, Brandarius Gilmore, joining the crew. What's going on, BG?
Hey, what's up, man? Ravens flock in the building. Good call.
And we have two guests. we have two guests on the show today. We got my man Alejandro Diaz, the lead. Let me make sure I got it correctly. Lead sports anchor for Enlace, correct?
That is correct. Thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
Alejandro, definitely great to have you too. He's got some great knowledge and great takes. I said, man, we got to get you on the show, brother. So absolutely have to have you. And we're also very, very excited to have one of the new A&M students, A&M San Antonio students, and also should be the team captain of that SA Jaguars team, Mr. Parabron Hawkins. What's going on, my bro?
What's going on, Marshall? It's always a pleasure to talk to you, man. Get to speak some sports with you for sure.
Absolutely. He is a very happy Saints fan. I know that.
Hey, we'll get to that later.
Yes. So, Parabron, since we got you here, before we get all up into the show, man, tell us a little bit about the team, man, because I know, unfortunately, since COVID hit, we weren't able to have a regular season. And right now you guys are playing kind of in a league outside of, the school. So, give us a little update on that, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a big downer, the people because people are really excited about sports this coming year because, we just went NAIA. There's a lot of talent that was going around with the school and with the athletes and the teammates that we're acquiring. But like I said, I mean, we keep our head up high and we're trying to find ways to get things going. And we pulled some strings a little bit and we're actually able to still be active and being these leagues that are going on. So we were able to secure a league that we do, probably going to be doing every Sunday. And just more information will be coming out this week. But other than that, we're just excited to be out on the floor and just playing the game that we love. And it's exciting, being a first year, school coming out in like an NAIA professional league, going from club, going to, a collegiate, aspect. So very excited about it.
Absolutely. Questions from the panel. Any questions for Mr. Parabron?
Who do you pattern your game after, you would say, or who do you want to emulate as far as your play style?
That's a good question. I get asked that all the time. When I go on to see certain teams, I just graduated from St. Philip's College, and I look to really try to lead by example, and that's as far as hustle, determination, persistence. And I look at a lot of guys like Chris Paul. Chris Paul is one of my favorite basketball players of all time. The way that he operates on the floor, his IQ level is out of this world. The things that he does, just the master of his art that he does, and the way that he perfects his craft. I think he's a big motivation to me, and that's who I look at the most. As far as anybody else, my game is more like a Kawhi Leonard. I'm not really that flashy. I don't think Kawhi Leonard's really that flashy, but he puts the ball in the hoop, I think that at the end of the day, when you're playing basketball, it's more like whoever puts the ball in the basket more wins. So as much as we love the entertainment of, the Kyrie Irvings and the John Walls and the Steph Currys, I think, keeping it plain and simple and getting the wins and winning the championships is what's best.
Absolutely. Any other questions from the panel?
Yeah, I was going to ask him. He was saying that he likes to emulate Kawhi Leonard, and he's well known for being a two-way player. So I'm guessing you're also that type of player that likes to play, both ways, very strong on defense.
Yes, sir. So ever since I was little, I've been playing basketball since I was 5 years old, and I just picked it up. And I was a multi-sport athlete back then, but my love for the game was always basketball. So I mean, yeah, my biggest thing was defense. My dad, he played overseas ball, and he also played at Cheney and Westchester in college. So I have big shoes to fill when it comes to playing basketball and actually being good. But yeah, that was my number one thing was defense. I remember in high school, I went to Marshall High School. So shout out to John Marshall High School if anybody's listening. But yeah, I went to John Marshall, and I was really big on defense. Like if we needed a stop, I always was subbed in and denying like the best person on the court, and just giving them taking them off their game and stuff like that. So that was my first kind of perk, I guess. And so since we play 2K nowadays, that was kind of my lockdown defender. That's what I was, and then kind of budded from there, and started actually looking at a lot more film and studying, the game and studying different types of players like Kawhi and like maybe a Paul George that are maybe long and lengthy and how they look at things and stuff like that. So definitely a two-way player for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Any other questions from the panel?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So you build your game after Kawhi Leonard. Would you say he is the best defender in the NBA right now at this moment?
From the bubble, it doesn't seem like it. I don't know where the Kawhi Leonard from Toronto came from, but then again, I think with me and Kawhi, which is crazy, I'm comparing this because my leadership, the way I look like, I'm more of a Chris Paul, but I feel like my ability, I can go off like a Kawhi Leonard, or I can get hot kind of like a Dame a little bit, but just depending on who's around me, sometimes, I want to get my players involved. I want to get my shooters involved. I want to get my bigs involved. I want to look at mismatches, and my mom and dad, they taught me if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if it's something where, one game I'm scoring at will and it's working, then I'm gonna work. If my big has a mismatch all night, and I'm gonna keep going to the mismatch all night. But as far as, in the league, I feel like it just really depends on what team he's on. Because if you look at the Toronto team that Kawhi was on, I mean, besides Kawhi, what other superstars on there? And if you look at it, okay, Kyle Lowry, okay, cool. But he's kind of short. So then I'm talking about height now, and he's really liable on defense. He is a good defender, don't get me wrong, but height-wise. And then you go to the next person, which is Siakam. Now, Siakam is just a budding superstar. I don't think he's a superstar. I think he's a star. So saying that, and then so going from that team to a team in the Clippers, saying with another superstar and Paul George. Now I'm not going to tell you about his performance because I don't even want to talk about it. But
Layoff key.
yeah, he made me look bad because I kind of took that name, So I hope I don't have that dojo, man. But yeah, so you go to that team and you look at Paul George, and then you look at a Lou Williams, and you look at the supporting cast around, and you look at I forgot the center's name. I want to say Harold. Yeah, I wanted to say Fareed, but yeah, you look at Montrez, which is like an energy setter, kind of like a Draymond. I mean, that's a good squad, and for them to fall short was really, really sad. And I feel like he deferred a lot. I think he should have took more shots. I think he should have been on more shots. I mean, I think just like how Tampa Bay is doing, and down with the Bucks, I think that's what they tried to do with the Clippers, and it didn't turn out the way that they wanted it to be.
Right.
You're being nice saying they fell short. They collapsed. They folded.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They definitely
Credit on defense.
They definitely folded. We want to get back. We'll get back into that. Paramount, I have a specific question for you, brother.
Yeah, what's up?
So the goal, I'm sure, is to play. Hopefully next year, if everything opens up, you're able to have the season. Playing for A&M San Antonio, the NAIA. My question specifically to you is: do you think that by A&M San Antonio going into the NAIA versus the NCAA helps or hurts? In your opinion?
I think it tremendously helps us. I wouldn't want to throw, when you're growing up, when you're growing up 4, 5, 6, 7, it's good to play up, like so you're getting that experience. But I mean, NCAA, it'll be really hard, especially how small we are, and then the amount of teams and the amount of you got to get some publicity, you got to get some display of people, and it's just like we don't really have too much. I don't know. It would be very, 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 very. It'd be very hard. But I think NAI is perfect. I mean, we have. I know we're gonna have. We're already talking crap to, Our Lady of the Lake.
Our Lady of
So
the
I
Lake.
mean
Yeah.
that's a super rival. I know. Shout out to our softball team, our NAIA softball team at TAMUSA. I started practice a couple of days ago, so shout out to them. They're getting ready for their season. Their first game is sometime in January. So it's gonna be. I think it's a tournament. And I think they play like Olu in like March. So I mean that rivalry is already brewing already. We also have like LSU Shreveport, Wiley College, and a couple other ones that'll be really good. But I think these schools are going to be, legit. It's going to be competitive. I think the NAA is a perfect fit to, and the Red River Conference, which we're a part of, is definitely going to be a great place for us to start.
Yeah, without a doubt. Any other questions for Peron?
Yeah, let me ask you this. As far as I knew, I thought the school was going to start only with soccer and softball and golf. Um, I'm not sure about basketball. So have they said anything about starting the basketball program, with the school?
So with the basketball program with the school, we what we're deciding depending is really depends on when the gym, the rec center gets built. So initially the rec center was supposed to be built, I believe, by this spring, but obviously due to COVID, it got pushed back. So the start date is probably going to be either next fall or next spring. Now with saying that, that's why the club team that they had at TAMUSA is still a club team, but still, even with TAMUSA, like we can't like really affiliate it with anything there. But you
Right.
still have athletes on that team, and then also athletes that are transferring from different schools to come here to play in AIA for the school as well, on top of anybody else that wants to just try out, that are here and just wanting to play ball. And,
Right.
it's kind of tricky because we're not established like Olu or like maybe a Northwest Vista, or I seen NAU in a tournament the other day, and their season's done, but they're still doing leagues with their coaches and stuff like that. But I think that once because we have our athletic director, Darnell, and then once he finds a head coach that's official, then that's when everything will start. But once our rec center gets built, hopefully in 2021, or hope possibly in the fall, then that's when everything will start really, really, really going down. But we want to make sure, and I'm trying to do the best that I can to get it from the jump now. Because the earlier we start, the earlier we get working, the earlier we work out, the earlier we, get a schedule and stay on schedule, the better that will be in the long run, the better that will be when that time really comes when we start to play these real teams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It will definitely be exciting. Even when the club team still starts back up. I know that is definitely a fun time. Me having played for Vista back in 2018, and then even watching and going to the games, couple years prior, it was always, you know, a good rivalry going up against some of those other junior, or well, I'll say community colleges, as well as I know we went up against Incarnate Words Club team. We went up against Victoria, A&M, San Antonio when they were first starting out, which, you know, they just kind of threw a team out there, and, you know, it just wasn't well established at all. So now you guys coming in, I know yourself and a couple of the other guys on the team are looking forward to really, you know, take this team to the next level, which is definitely going to be great, you know, along with the school growing. So absolutely, man. I'm looking forward to seeing it, brother. Really, really am.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I mean, there's a lot of pieces. Like we have a freshman by the name of Jeffrey Williams. He's coming in and he's really, really promising. We have maybe a returner and Dante Quilden. I've talked to him. I've battled against him multiple times, and you know, now being teammates with him is going to be really awesome and glad to see. Also, we have a guy by the name of Tyreek, and Tyreek is a really great slasher. Emulates kind of like a CJ McComb, to be honest. He's really, really good finisher at the rim. But yeah, definitely we got a couple new bigs, freshman bigs that are coming in, like 6'6", 6'7". So I'm really excited to see how it is, and when we start kind of practicing tomorrow, so we get to kind of get our feet wet a little bit and learn about each other, and you know, see what we can put together.
Absolutely. So yeah, man, we're definitely gonna hopefully be able to come out and cover some of the games. That'll be really, really good. Stacks vs. Facts going on the road, baby.
Go on the road, baby. Take it on the road.
You already know.
Yes,
So my last question to you is kind of a small question. You said you went to Marshall High School, and there's a guy that graduated from there, and I believe it was 2016, 2017, by the name of Jordan Burns. I don't know if you happen to. Yeah, that's my boy. He's going to Colgate right now. Returned for his senior year, and I think he has a real good shot of making the league, man. Especially if he eats this year and plays really well. I mean, he's really got that factor. Your thoughts on him, man?
Jordan's a phenomenal player. I mean, I remember watching him when he was a freshman, when I was a senior. And, you know, we can all say what ifs, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm proud of my man. My senior year, we had a coach, and they were going through a coaching change. So they actually got a coaching change, and Reggie Olendike became their head coach. And they had a lot of potential. I mean, it wasn't just him. I think it was the pieces around him also that helped him be great. And, you know, just like, you know, a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant, like it wasn't, I mean, we look at them, but we also don't look at the pieces that are around him that make him great. And I think with Jordan and the surrounding cast that was, you know, around him at Colgate and at Marshall, really helped. He worked on his game, and, you know, he put countless hours in the gym. He was always the first one in, the last one out. And, you know, a lot of people look at that and they overlook that, and they say, oh, well, that doesn't do anything. And it's just like, no, it definitely makes a difference. And it showed in his game. I'm proud of my boy. You know what I'm saying? I have mad love for him. I have mad love for the family. Shout out to Jalen Myers, his older brother. Shout out to the family. You know, they're family. They're always going to be a part of Marshall. And I'm always proud of people that, you know, go somewhere, you know. You know, I had Anthony Puente graduated, I think, 2010. He went to go play at UTEP. We got a couple other friends not from Marshall, but other schools too, but that are in the league too. Like shout out to my boy Josh Reynolds, you know, Malcolm Brown. That was our year, 2012. Michael Thompson went to Texas. So those are all our cats, man. And I'm just proud to see them get to where they need to be, because they worked hard and they, you know, put in the extra work and took out all the distractions and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Jordan Burns will always be a top dog. And yeah, like I said, I have no doubt in my mind he's going to make it. He's going to be somewhere playing ball. You know
without a doubt.
So, without a doubt. So, I mean, he's going to eat this year. You know what I'm saying? I was watching that Tennessee game, and man, I'm
30.
like, come on, like, I mean, if they and then they, I think any other team, I think they should have won that game, but I think any other team that they go up against, if they're not better than that Tennessee team, they'll go a couple of times. They'll scare them. They can be a La Jolla for sure. They can
Absolutely.
definitely be a La Jolla.
Absolutely. Well, man, Paragon, let's get into some of these, big sports games, brother, because I know you're a Saints fan. I know you're a very happy Saints fan, man. This is the second time that they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. This one was just a straight blowout. Brady looked like trash. Like Max Kellerman's cliff prediction, it looked kind of real after last.
Off the cliff, finally.
Yeah, a ravine, cliff, whatever. So, break that game down for me, man.
I was working. I was at Chili's working, but I was definitely watching the game for sure. And after the first touchdown, I was like, let's go. And Brady, he didn't look bad. I think his receivers just didn't really show up. And I think, with AB coming back, I seen him at first after he made one catch, and then he started doing all that crazy stuff. But then I didn't see him again. I didn't see him again. And as much as I want my Saints to win, I want to see AB. You know what I mean? But I just didn't stay underperformed. And I've been a Saints fan for almost before Katrina. It was 2 years before Katrina. So that's like 2000, like maybe 13, 12, something like that. But yeah, and Breeze is Breeze. I always, and that's a segment I would love to do. I would wonder what Breeze would be if he didn't have that shoulder injury. Because because he'd still be at the Chargers. And, I think that it's a blessing in disguise for New Orleans, and why I'm a New Orleans fan, is that he's here and he's still doing these numbers, and he's on top. Now he's on top in 4 TDs on Sunday.
3 TDs. He's up 564 to 561.
Okay, yeah.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, there's always the what ifs. There's always the what if Aaron Rodgers would have played for the Patriots instead of Tom Brady. There's always the
LT and Breeze, though.
Yeah, no, LT and Breeze would have been nice. Don't get me wrong. Would they have won? I don't know. Tough. That's a tough question. But Alejandro, give me your take on that game, brother. 38-3. Breeze had 26-32, 222 yards, 4 touchdowns. Michael Thomas came back first game, just 5 receptions, 51 yards. As mentioned, it was also Antonio Brown's first game, and he totaled up with, I just had it. I think he had 3 catches for 26 yards. 3 catches for 31 yards.
Yeah, they didn't have much of an impact, Michael Thomas, and they were coming back for this game, but they opened things up for the Saints because, Drew Brees hadn't had them in the lineup for the past few games. And for that reason, the defense was focusing on the only weapons that they had at the time. For this game, those 2 key players come back and they roll over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was surprised. I was expecting a much closer game. And when I started seeing them score after score, I was like, okay, maybe next series they'll start catching up. And it was just a blowout. I was surprised. Again, Brady was 0 for 5 on passes of like 20 or more air yards, and 8 of 15 on passes of 10 or more. When he was pressured, he would not complete the passes, and his frustration was evident off the field whenever he was on the sidelines. And also one thing, the Saints became just the 3rd team in the past 30 years to have 12 different players catch a pass. This is according to Elias Sports Bureau data. Right. So that's something that tells you right there. It was a complete team effort by the Saints, and they just dominated the Bucs in this game.
Yes, no, they truly, absolutely did. I am very curious now because, and Branderis, I'm gonna come to you with this. Bruce Arians called out Tom Brady yet again, and they asked him a question about Mike Evans and, you know, kind of what's going on with him. And he said, no, Evans is open. He's been open. And this whole year, I expect Evans to take that next step, and he's kind of, I don't know, is that more on him for not getting open? Is that on Brady? I know in the past, Evans had Jameis Winston, which funny enough, now he plays for who? The Saints.
Yeah.
Kind of poetic, somewhat poetic justice. So, what do you think's up with Mike Evans, man? I mean, he had 4 receptions for 64 yards, but it's somebody of his caliber, I'm expecting, at least 10 receptions, 10 to 11, and about 100 yards, and to be averaging about 100 yards, and he's not doing that this year.
Yeah. So with that being said, Mike Evans, this game, I don't know where he was at. I don't know if he was in the stands, but when he got matched up on Marshawn Lattimore the entire game, Marshawn Lattimore just had his number.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a couple of those balls, Tom Brady was forcing it to him. I think that, if I'm not mistaken, the Buccaneers were down there like on the 4th and goal on the 1 in the third quarter. They're trying to score, and they go with the fade. Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans gets locked up. I believe that it's a mixture of both.
Mm-hmm.
Some games we see Brady looks like, the old Brady. He's able to, throw, more than 20 yards or so. But a couple of games like that past one, it's just he's not looking right out there. I think that goes back to Brady was under stress the whole entire game, man. If I'm not mistaken, Trey Hendrickson, he had like 3 straight sacks on him.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that, the Saints had their number. But the comparison that I do like is that with the Saints, you see that they're homegrown talent. Besides Emmanuel Sanders and I believe Janoris Jenkins, the cornerback, I believe he was matched up on Chris Godwin.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Saints because you look, they go out there and they draft these guys, and Sean Payton knows what he's doing. And the Buccaneers, a comparison to the Warriors or somebody, where they're just picking up guys or something, and it's not really converting into that. We're seeing it week by week. We've seen flashes like against Green Bay. I mean, they dominated, but I mean, if you look this week, the Saints look like they're the big brother of the league right there, or the division right there.
Right. And you're absolutely right. This is as we said, the second game that the Buccaneers, if they were to meet in the playoffs, it would be the third game. And as we know, it's hard to beat a team 3 times. So that could go into the Buccaneers' favor if they end up meeting in the playoffs. With the Saints, you just never know. I feel like they got some type of voodoo running around their franchise because they always tend to get to the big moment and something tends to go wrong. Almost like the Cowboys. I mean, the accident waiting to happen, but I'm not going to throw that on the Saints because they've had some success and the Cowboys have not. We're going to leave that there. But, Greg, I'm going to come to you with this question, man. It looks like the Buccaneers line, the offensive line is failing Brady. He's out of hits. He's, having to release the ball quicker than I think he would like to. He's not getting that time. So I don't know if I cut in and out. If I did, I apologize. I'll repeat my question. So Tom Brady doesn't look like he's getting enough time on that offensive line. That offensive line doesn't look like he's getting enough time. Do they need to make some changes there, or do you think they'll be okay? It's just, a hiccup of certain games.
I think that was a major issue coming into the season. That was an understated issue. That's why they drafted a lineman so high in the first round to kind of compensate for that. They can't run the ball very effectively. Brady's he's not comfortable in the pocket sometimes, and he doesn't have mobility to get out and escape. And you could tell there's not a lot of chemistry either because of injuries, or I don't know if he just does not trust them because they brought in Gronk and now they brought in AB. So there's a feeling that maybe they don't, and Fournette. So there's a feeling maybe that he doesn't trust who he has right now.
Yeah, and Fournette ran the ball one time, 0 yards. You had Jones the second, 3 carries, 9 yards, and then Gabbert, has 1 for a -1 towards the end of the game. But I mean, it's just like they're not running the ball at all.
They only ran it 4 times, and one of those times, Brady took a knee.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 31 by the half. So, I mean, they had to throw. I mean, it was just one of those game scripts that ended up happening. But It seemed like they wouldn't have had any success anyways running the ball against the Saints.
Right. So right now, Saints are top dogs sitting at 6-2 because the team that I actually thought would be going a little bit further took another L against the Bills. I'm talking about those Seattle Seahawks. Fell to 6-2 after that 44-27 loss to the Bills. Russell Wilson, it's so back and forth with him. Or excuse me, it's 44-34. Excuse me. It's so back and forth with him. This game, he was 28 for 41, 390 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And he was my guy for league MVP, which I kind of just want to sit right there on that. Alejandro, is Russell Wilson right now still the front runner for the league MVP, or has a Patrick Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers kind of caught up to him?
You know, the thing about that is that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback we have in the league right now.
Oh, without a doubt.
And it's getting to the point that he's becoming kind of Jordan-esque, that he could probably win the MVP every season he plays if he continues playing at this pace and at this level. There's only a few games or a few times when you kind of stop thinking about that, and you might maybe think that Russell Wilson is the leader for the award for this season. But to me, Patrick Mahomes should take it anyway. However, Russell Wilson was playing at the highest level at the beginning of the season. Right. He was definitely the front runner for that MVP until the past couple of games that they lost. And again, he's had I forgot the game that he had multiple interceptions.
That was the game against they lost that game.
49ers? No.
That was their first loss when they lost to
Cardinals.
The Cardinals.
Cardinals. Yes, that was a good game. That was a great game. He had multiple interceptions, but then again, the defense, the Seattle defense that used to be so good, and the Legion of Boom is far from it now. So really, it's all up to Russell Wilson right now, what he can do, and let Russell cook and all of that. But he definitely will be at the end of the season. Yeah, definitely in the talks for league MVP. But again, in my opinion, it should probably go to Patrick Mahomes, because it's just unreal some of the things that he does.
Right. So with this, you make very good points. My thing about this is that Russell Wilson hasn't had, even though the defense is trash, he's had Carson injured, Hyde has been injured. I mean, he's had a myriad of injuries at the running back position. If those guys are still healthy, for all the games, maybe they lose that game to the Cardinals, maybe not, and against the Bills, possibly. But it's funny because one of my things about Russell Wilson was not that he's not a good quarterback and that he's never, deserved the opportunity to be in the MVP conversation. It's that I don't think he's had as good as a receiving core as he's ever had this season. DJ Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. There's a couple other guys I always forget the names.
David Moore.
Of his receivers. What'd you say, Greg?
David Moore.
Yeah, David Moore. Greg Olsen, even though he's a little bit older now, they have a pretty solid receiving core to where if the running backs stay healthy, once Carson comes back, and if they continue to use that Dallas, is it DJ Dallas?
Yeah, DJ.
He's not a bad little back himself either. So I think it's all about health. Obviously, their defense is bad. They get Jamal Adams back. Hopefully, that'll help on that secondary part. But Russ is putting up some good numbers. Now, the thing with Patrick Mahomes, he had a bit of a Super Bowl hangover because he didn't play that well in the Super Bowl. And, first 3 to 4 games, numbers were okay. And now he's finally started putting up those Patrick Mahomes numbers that we're used to seeing, right? So I definitely think that you can make a case between either one of them. And then Aaron Rodgers is playing lights out too, even though they took a weird loss to Minnesota 2 weeks ago. And then they obviously bounced back this past week. So it's to me, it's gonna come down between those three guys. I had thrown Derrick Henry in there earlier on, but Tennessee is kind of, I mean, they're okay, but he hasn't had some of the greatest games either. So I think those three guys are definitely in the MVP conversation. Now, Brandarius, coming to you, because I know he's sitting there. He's like, come on, I know you're not going to forget about my man. You can't forget about my man, bro.
Build a team.
Lamar Jackson.
There's somebody you guys are missing, man. There's somebody you guys are missing.
He said Lamar Jackson should be in that conversation. I'm going to say no. Reason why I'm saying no. Reason why I'm saying no for Lamar Jackson. He's a solid, I don't say he's a good quarterback. That deep ball is still a question. To be able to take down those better teams is still a question. He's 25-1 against everybody else, but he's lost 3 times to the Chiefs, and he's lost 1 time to the Steelers. We'll see if they can win on Thanksgiving Day. That would be a huge game and a huge accomplishment for them. But Brandarius, go ahead and tell me why you think that Lamar should still be in that conversation.
Well, the thing is, I don't think Lamar should be in.
Don't. So he switched on me.
All right, move on.
Bro, about Mahomes, I think that the way that he's playing is it's ridiculous, and I feel bad for Russell because I feel like this was his year, and with his running backs being out and having the worst defense in the league. I don't think Dallas has the worst defense in the league. I think after this Sunday, they have the worst defense. Even with Jamal Adams back, he was getting cooked in coverage. It was ridiculous. But actually, I'm going to make a case for Dalvin Cook. I know that he's been out, and I know that the Vikings are 3-5. Looking at their schedule, they can actually get it together and get it going. And this is why I'm going to say it. Comparing Dalvin, well, right now we're in a league where, the quarterback, they always win the MVP. The last person to win MVP that wasn't, I think it was AP, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I'm not sure about that.
Yes.
But if you compare Dalvin Cook's season this season with AP's MVP season, Dalvin Cook has 12 more rushes. He has over 200 more yards this midway point of the season. And AP only had 3 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook has 12 touchdowns right now, and he has over 1,000 yards from scrimmage. AP only had 700 yards from scrimmage. So I'm just saying maybe later in the season, the Vikings get on a 3-game win streak, 4-game win streak. They're looking pretty good right now. Dalvin Cook is eating. He is just – this man's going out. But that is my case. But I do think that Mahomes, he's going to win that. I think so. It's going to be between Mahomes and Russell, maybe Aaron Rodgers, but, I think it's between them.
And Cook stay healthy, though.
That's a big question.
Now, you make very, very good points, Dalvin Cook. But here's the thing. What's their record?
Like 3-5. I think maybe 3.
No, it's 3-5. So more than likely, they're probably what? Not gonna make the playoffs, right?
Well, actually, they just proposed if COVID goes through, I believe they're gonna bump the playoffs to 2 more teams on top of that. Right now, it's like 6 or something.
Right now they're sitting at 7.
But I think that a lot of things have to go his way in order to do that. I don't think that he will, but I think top 5 at least.
Top 5. So look, in order for Minnesota to make the playoffs right now they're sitting at 10th. Okay, so they're sitting behind San Francisco and Chicago. So they would have to end up winning. They'd have to go on about a good win streak, about 4 or 5 games. I don't see that happening. If they're not in the playoffs, he's not getting MVP. I'm sorry. So more than likely that's not going to happen. But to be top 5 in the MVP voting race, you may have a point there. You may absolutely have a point there. But I want to move on to the sorry excuse Cowboys.
Sad face.
It was a competitive game. Hey, they almost won.
It was a good game.
Get out our D line at least a little.
Right?
Yeah.
Randy Gregory, Leighton Vander Esch, Sean
Moore.
Aldon Smith. The defense is actually looking, they're all right. You know what I mean? But what is this thing about the Cowboys that religiously screws them over? 2 things. Number 1, Stall drives. I don't care who your quarterback is. They have too many stall drives. They get up, and then for whatever reason, they decide we're not going to score, or they settle for field goals, which they end up either missing one, or they just, I don't know, or they go 4 and out. So that's one. Number 2, the secondary is garbage. I don't care about the defensive line. They can find defensive linemen anywhere. Like, their defensive line, they just seem to have guys that are able to step up and make plays. But on that secondary, when games count, they cannot stop anybody. If you are a team going against the Cowboys, throw the damn ball. Just throw the damn ball. Your receivers are going to be open. Seriously. So that's exactly what Roethlisberger and Pittsburgh Steelers did. I mean, hats off to the Cowboys. Garrett Gilbert. What's his name? Garrett Gilbert, right?
Garrett Gilbert, yeah.
I thought I said his name backwards. We had another Garrett in the house after Jason Garrett left. Garrett Gilbert.
Back, baby. We're back at square one.
You know, didn't have the worst game, didn't have the greatest game. It did all right. Trick play. It was kind of interesting to see that trick punt play. I was like, man, the Cowboys must have been watching Rutgers play the last few weeks with all the trick plays they're coming up with.
College, I was like, whoa. Back to Boise State with Kellen Moore.
Yeah, that boy, Kellen Moore, man. But Alejandro, I'm gonna throw this one to you too. Actually, you know what, G-Reg, I'm gonna let you start this one off, man.
Hey,
what the hell happened, brother? With them damn
we did good. We competed definitely on the D line. We definitely held their running game, and we got pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, and he looked out of sorts, and he eventually got a little injured and hobbled. But like you said, eventually, our secondary can't really hold anybody. So eventually they're able to, come across. And penalties, turnovers, the usual stuff that happens with us. We shoot ourselves in the foot. Gilbert wasn't incompetent. He was making plays with his feet at least. And, he making some nice throws here and there. He wasn't as bad as DiNucci or anything. So
for sure.
And of course, Tony Pollard, my guy, just, outgaining Zeke and on half the carries, but let's not give him more carries,
Man, I'm sorry, but I'll give him to that. Go ahead, Brandarius.
I think the Cowboys played great. I was actually rooting for you guys because, I hate the Steelers. One key thing that I saw about the coaching that I didn't like, I think it was the minute drill. It was a minute before the third quarter. Cowboys were up 13-6. Instead of just taking the knee, playing it smart, I think the Steelers had 1 timeout, 2 timeouts, just get the ball at halftime and just go from there. They wanted to gamble and see if they can, score. CD Lamb actually ends up fumbling, and the halftime the score gets cut down from 13-6, 13-9. And I didn't agree with that coaching style right there. I think that right there, you just take that knee and go in to halftime. So, but I think it was a pretty good game. Tony Pollard had 9 carries for 57 yards.
Let's go, baby.
He had double the carries and had the same exact yards. That's kind of iffy. As a Cowboy fan, are you thinking about trading Zeke right now or not right now?
I'm going to get to that.
That contract is ridiculous. I'm starting to see now with the NFL season why they don't pay running backs, because they feel as if, it's the next man up. And I like Tony Pollard, though, and I do think you guys should trade Amari, but that's for another segment, another day. So.
And Alejandro, give your take, man, because I'm going into it.
Marshall's getting hyped.
I agree with you guys. Gilbert, he played well. He completed 21 of 31 passes for 243 yards. That's a solid game.
Yeah,
that's a very solid game. And I was surprised that they were leading the game. I was watching the game throughout, most of the game. And I thought they looked decent for the first time since the Seattle game. That game against Seattle, that was probably the best game. That was, obviously before Dak got injured. But I remember when they played against Seattle, thinking, this team, they may have lost, but I think they're gonna make the playoffs, playing that way against Seattle. Mm-hmm. And after that, it was just downhill. And it wasn't until this game that I was like, okay, maybe, they're probably finding a groove. But then again, it's like this team has this bad juju or bad energy, bad aura around them that
Jerry Jones.
Cat running around the
they
franchise.
find a way to lose the game. It's like what happens with losing teams, that you're like, okay, they're winning, but somehow I know that they're probably going to lose. And I remember there was a drive. I don't remember exactly if it was in the fourth quarter or the third quarter, but they were ahead 19. Forgot the score for the Steelers, but 19 to something. And I remember watching. They were close. They were already in Steelers territory, and I had to leave, so I took a quick shower. And when I got out, I saw that the score was the same. I was like, "Wait, what happened? They didn't even score a field goal." I thought they at least they would have scored a field goal. So I agree with Marshall about the stall drives. Like I don't know what happened in that drive. I don't know if they fumbled, if there was an interception, but it was just they were so close that I was like, okay, at least they're gonna get a field goal, and none of that happened. At the end, again, bad luck for the Cowboys, and just like I said, just overall bad energy throughout the season.
Oh, I think that might have been the interception. That might have been
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, was it?
Oh,
they were driving down the field. They looked nice, and then just
Exactly. They looked nice. I thought they were gonna score, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a quick shower and just leave. And then what happened? Wait.
So, all right, let me get into this part real quick. Okay, as we mentioned, Pollard had a pretty decent game.
God tier.
9 carries, 57 yards, 6.3 average. That's pretty solid. Zeke, double the carries, 18. 51 yards to a running back that you paid $90 million to? Come on, man. He's been fumbling all season. He's been looking trash since last year. This is not the first year he's been looking bad. He's been looking bad since halfway through last year. I'm just kind of like, man, this dude right here, this whole let Zeke eat, getting that tattoo about feed the beast, feed the Zeke or whatever. I'm like, bro, you're not even, to me, Ezekiel Elliott is barely in the top 10 running backs in the league right now for me. Like, he's just regressed, and he's regressing before our own eyes. So you getting a lot of money to him. You paid Cooper. There are particular times you don't even use Cooper in the game, Cowboys. There's been 2 or 3 games this season you have not targeted him. Why? I don't know. Like, this is probably one of the better games that he had. 5 receptions for 67 yards. But regardless, it's just like you paid him $100-something million, and he's a lower tier first option. He's a lower tier number 1 receiver. He's not amongst the better receivers in the game. I'd take a DK Metcalf over him, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Stephon Diggs. Shoots. Antonio Brown if he gets back. I mean, it's mind-boggling. If Amari Cooper is your best receiver on your team, you're not going to go far. He'd be an amazing number 2 receiver. And if CeeDee Lamb can ever eclipse him and be the guy that gets the most targets, I'm cool with that. But maybe it is time to think about trading Amari Cooper. I think he came in, served his purpose. Let's trade him and work on the damn secondary because that's where we need help. Now, Trayvon Diggs is out with a foot injury, 4 to 6 weeks. Like, and I mean, he's been getting burnt most of the season too, but he is a rookie. So
got problems. Still believe in you.
Yeah, got a lot of problems. But I'd seriously trade Cooper because trade Cooper to the dang Ravens. Seriously,
You need help.
I don't even want him. I'm good on that, man.
But it's
No, I was just gonna say I'm always gonna go back to the point that when we got up before Amari, our offense was terrible. When we got Amari from the Raiders, it opened up the offense tremendously, and it helped that
made the playoffs.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's QB play. I know Amari tends to disappear time to time. So I mean, I get your point for sure.
Right. So before we move on, quick answers. Alejandro, how many wins is the NFC champion going to have? this season.
The NFC East.
Yes, NFC East championship and NFC East championship half. It's a quick answer.
The Eagles had a bye, right? And
Yes.
they have what, like 4 wins right now?
Three.
Four
They have
wins?
three.
They
3
could-
wins?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for 7, being optimistic.
Okay. Bandarius,
I'm gonna say 6.
Greg,
7.
7. I'm gonna go 5.
Oh,
I'm gonna go 5. And maybe it might be 6 because they do have to play each other again. I feel like one of them are gonna tie. Seriously. But man, okay. So moving on now. This week, starting Thursday, it's a very unprecedented event going on. Because normally this takes place in April, but we got the Masters going on. The Masters. And this is a little quick take on the Masters. I didn't realize that the defending champion of the Masters is Tiger Woods.
let's go.
It is. Yeah.
I was like, that is true. So do we think that he can repeat?
That's the only way I'll care.
It's highly unlikely, I guess. It's not probable. There's a couple of players that have been rising up this year. DeChambeau, the guy who just won the U.S.
DeChambeau.
Open, and John Ram, I believe is the last,
John Ram.
his last
Yeah.
name.
Anybody see
Today,
the
actually,
one that he hit? Yeah.
Did you see it today? It was
Yeah.
crazy. It was insane. So, yeah, I mean, those guys, DeChambeau is the type of player who reminds you of Tiger when he was starting with those long drives, and how the PGA is kind of having to adjust to his game now, because he's hitting the ball so far that they're trying to adjust the fields to his game to make it harder, I guess, for him. Definitely those two players are exciting to watch. I don't really watch that much golf. Watch the highlights, of course. Ball golf is kind of boring, but I mean, you see the highlights here and there. Like today, that hole-in-one was insane.
Yeah.
So something definitely worth watching.
If y'all didn't see that hole-in-one round, literally, he hit the ball, it skidded off the water about 2 or 3 times, got on the green, rolled around, and went back in for a hole-in-one. I mean, that was probably one of the most amazing shots I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was crazy. That was crazy. So
especially the fact that he hit it off of the water, skidding off of the water, gets on the green, goes around and right into the hole. Like it's insane.
Man. Yeah. That was insane. That was insane. So, but now we want to move on to some college football. Going straight through today, fellas. Going straight through today. No breaks. Because I mean,
I hit my cardio. I'm ready.
Just for the recap, fortunately we lost Parabron. We appreciate him being on the show. But again, right here, Brandarius Gilmore joining with us, Dan G. Reg, and Alejandro Diaz, very knowledgeable lead sports anchor of Enlace, man. Brother, we've been talking about having you on the show for the longest, man. And I'm really excited having you, brother. I really am. So I'm gonna let you go in first on this question for some college football. That Notre Dame Clemson game. Recap that for me, brother.
So I was watching parts of the game on Saturday night. It was definitely an entertaining game. I was not aware that Trevor Lawrence wasn't playing because of COVID. I saw him on the sideline. At first, I thought he was injured, and then I realized it was COVID related. But then the backup quarterback, I looked up his last name. And I prepared, and now I forgot how to pronounce it. Wengalele, something like that, right?
Yeah, Wengalele.
Yeah. So he's a great player too. I don't know if you guys saw him in QB1 on Netflix.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a beast. So even then, I didn't think Notre Dame was going to tie the game. I thought it was, Clemson was going to find a way to win. and they ended up going to overtime, entertaining again. And one thing that I have to mention though, what happened after the game and when Notre Dame won, how the fans rushed into the field, completely unacceptable.
Yes.
I understand. I understand. You know, the emotion of winning, and you want to celebrate with your team. But come on, guys, this is it's not like this is a small school. Notre Dame should have taken measures to prevent this. In the
Yeah.
situation that we're in right now, we have to be more careful. It
Yeah.
was like nothing was happening, and we have to realize that we're not in a normal situation right now. It was it was insane watching that develop in real time and seeing so many fans on the field. And the players were trying to rush out of the field because they knew the
Yeah.
situation they were in. They were excited that they won. And I saw the Notre Dame quarterback was interviewed afterwards, and he was saying that he was aware the whole time that he needed to get out of the field because they know the risks they're taking to be
Right.
surrounded by so many people.
Right.
So completely unacceptable that part of the game. It's understandable, but you know, they should have taken measures to prevent that.
I agree. And you know, it was very upsetting to see that. And that's the risk of having fans, especially in college sports, in the stands, because football, basketball, you know, if a smaller school upsets a bigger school, fans are going to rush the court, you know, and it's just you running that risk, especially in a big game like that. So, yeah, the NCAA is going to have to take better precautions because that was completely unacceptable. Now, just
Yeah,
going
but
back to
props to Notre Dame for pulling out that win, because it you know it shoots them up to number 2, and you know Clemson falls to number 4 now. Notre Dame it's in a good position now to make the playoffs.
yes, they absolutely are. Now, what I will say for this game is, you know, Wigalele played well. I mean, he was 29 and 44, 439 yards, 2 touchdowns. So I don't necessarily know if it comes down to if Trevor Lawrence is there, you know, do they win by a lot versus losing? I don't necessarily know that, because that right there is more on the defensive end for Clemson and more about Notre Dame's offense. Notre Dame's offense, you know, put up. Book had 1 touchdown, it's 22 39, 310 yardage, but Williams, 23 carries, 140 yards, man, had 3 touchdowns. They couldn't stop the run. So with Lawrence's leadership, I mean, he was there, you know, but obviously he didn't play. So does his leadership on the field maybe bring a different type of energy that the defense wants to, you know, back or something? I don't know, but I think that's more of a defensive thing. So I think the Clemson was a bit exposed on the defensive side. I don't know if they're the best team in college football. Obviously not, because they lost. But if Trevor Lawrence, you know, comes back, when he does come back, are they still going to make the playoffs? I mean, that'll, you know, remains to be seen.
They still got to play Notre Dame again, right, for the championship.
I believe, are they in the same? I don't know if they're in the same conference. I have to double check that. But hold on one sec. Brandarius, give me your thoughts on the game, man.
Watching the game, you know, I was kind of surprised by Travis Etienne. I hear a lot about him, especially going into the NFL. He had 18 carries for 28 yards. It looks like, you know, Clemson could not run the ball against him. And the other guy that was shining was Kyrie Williams. Is that how you say his first name, Kyrie? 23 carries, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns. I mean, Notre Dame had 208 yards rushing. Clemson only had 34. I did like Clemson's quarterback. I like DJ. I think there's a couple of possessions that, you know, they settle for field goals that maybe if Trevor Lawrence is there, are they going to really go for the field goal? Or, you know, maybe he's going to make them go that extra step of, you know, making sure that they score in the red zone. So I think this high-scoring game that it was, I think exactly what you said, Marshall, the defense got exposed. I wasn't expecting that from a Clemson defense, you know.
Yeah.
But they definitely got exposed, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, Greg, yes, I believe that they will end up
Yeah, they're both in the ACC.
correct. I just know I know especially like the Big Ten has two separate sides. They have like a Big Ten East and a Big Ten West or something like that. But the ACC is all kind of lumped together. So as long as Clemson doesn't lose again, they will get an opportunity to play Notre Dame again. If they do lose, then Miami is right there. Unless Miami beats Notre Dame, then that could really shake some things up. And I think they do end up playing. Actually, no, they don't end up playing. So right now, Clemson's still in the driver's. They're still in the mix. They're still definitely in the mix right now.
You know, one thing that this game reminded me of was a game back in like, I think it's like 2005, when USC played also Notre Dame at Notre Dame with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. And it was the same thing. It was a close game. And then, but at the end, USC found a way to win. And I was expecting the same thing to happen. USC back then was being the number one seed. And I was expecting the same thing to happen in this game. Clemson at the end finding a way to win. But you're right about the defense. It came down to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, Alabama moved up to number 1. Notre Dame's now sitting at number 2. Ohio State's sitting at number 3. Clemson now at number 4. And Ohio State getting that 3 because Georgia ended up losing. Now they're knocked way down the scale to number 12. So Florida getting that opportunity to get bumped up to number 6, A&M at number 5. They probably won't go any higher unless they are able to take out Alabama, which I don't see happening with the way Alabama is rolling. So I'm transitioning to the college football playoffs. So we're assuming Alabama will probably be number 1 for the rest of the year. Depending on the Notre Dame Clemson rematch, unless something else wild happens or one of them loses, we'll expect that winner to be there. Ohio State, we get the opportunity. Now, do we see an A&M and Florida getting that opportunity to get bumped up into that 4th seat? Do we see undefeated Cincinnati if they win their conference? Cincinnati, I believe, is in the Big East? No, they're in the American Athletic Conference. So if they win the American Athletic Conference, do they get a bid in there? Does a team like in Oregon, if they go undefeated and win the Pac-12, do they get a shot in there? What are we kind of feeling, fellas? Brandarius, let me start with you. Actually, no, Greg, let me start with you. I haven't had you haven't had a chance to get.
Yeah, usually they tend to lean to the SEC because it's supposed to be the most competitive conference and the best conference with probably the most NFL stars in it. So they'll probably lean to more of a Florida or A&M if they can sneak in.
Mm-hmm.
Oregon does have an outside chance probably if they can win out.
You think they have more of a chance than the Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you would have to have a couple losses to the 4 seed because I think the first 3 are locked.
More than likely.
Well, maybe not Notre Dame because of this specific play comes in, but I think Ohio State and Alabama are definitely going to be locked in there.
I highly doubt Ohio State will lose to a team like Indiana or something who also is.
Oh, yeah, Indiana would.
But that probably won't happen. Cincinnati, BYU, those are 2 teams that are also undefeated, but they're playing in smaller conferences. Yeah. I don't see them possibly moving up. Wisconsin also undefeated, sitting at 1-0 as well. But I highly doubt that they're going to have that opportunity too. Alejandro, any shot that Oregon or maybe Cincinnati, BYU gets a chance to move up into one of those top 4 spots?
I agree with Greg. I don't see Cincinnati at all. Maybe probably Oregon if they can remain undefeated. BYU, I doubt it too. I don't know by heart the remainder of their schedule.
Bars, BYU, I doubt it too.
Yeah. Steve Young, Ty Detmer.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. I think it's going to stay kind of close to what it is right now. If anything, maybe A&M If they can continue, their winning ways and stuff, they can move up because of the conference that they play in. So definitely A&M or Florida can move up if the Notre Dame, Ohio State, if they falter. But more than likely, we have seen in the past that college football kind of remains the same throughout the season. It's very rare to see an upset. But we'll see how it plays out. It's been a strange season, definitely, for all sports.
Right.
We'll see how it plays out. But I doubt about Cincinnati and BYU and all of those teams.
Didn't A&M just had to shut down too because of COVID?
Yeah, that too.
Uh-huh.
That too.
Now, I will say that more than likely Florida and Alabama are going to play in that SEC championship game. So that'll probably knock one of them out. If Florida obviously can beat Alabama, that'll move them in to the top 4. But right now, A&M's in a very, very good spot of possibly jumping and getting in there, especially after that Clemson, between that Clemson Notre Dame rematch. And then if something happens to Ohio State, which right now, Ohio State sitting in their respective division they're tied with Indiana on top of the Big Ten East, and I believe they will take on each other in 2 weeks. So that'll be a big game, a big implication of what's going to, move on forward. If Ohio State loses that game, Indiana's jumping up for sure. And then on the other side, the West, you have Wisconsin sitting at number 13. Northwestern is 3-0 right now, sitting at 23. Obviously, I don't expect them to do anything. And Purdue sitting at 2-0. They're unranked. So possible switches up there in that conference. Maybe they get an opportunity, some big wins to move up and face Ohio State in that championship game. I don't really see that happening. So definitely some big moves that could be happening.
Mm-hmm.
In the next few weeks. So definitely exciting.
Bama game is going to be good.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
That happens.
Absolutely. And Banderas, I don't think I gave you a chance to give your prediction too. Do you see anybody moving up or down?
I believe that Alabama and Ohio State is a lock. Going back to that Georgia and Florida game real quick, I think that Georgia messed up not keeping Justin Fields there. Just wanted to throw that out there. Ohio State, that's a lock. Notre Dame, it was pretty impressive. I would like to see them in there. I don't know if they have what it takes, and I don't know their schedule at the end. I do see them at number 3. And then number 4, I got to put Clemson in there. When Trevor Lawrence comes back, am I really going to doubt that, man? Like, I think that they're going to get back on track, and I think that's a lock. I think for Texas A&M and Florida, they got to have a lot of things go their way. That number 4 spot, it's got to be like 2 L's at least. For them to sneak in there,
All right. Notre Dame actually has a very favorable schedule. Because don't get me wrong, they're playing some tough teams. They're playing a tough Boston College team. They're playing North Carolina, who was ranked early on. Uh-huh. Syracuse, who's bad, but Syracuse somehow come out of nowhere and give people tough tests. And their final games against Wake Forest. So they should win all those games, but with Notre Dame, you never know. Notre Dame, you never know.
They got a 5th-year senior quarterback, and they got a good running game, so they should be able to get it out at least.
How old is their quarterback?
5th-year senior.
Isn't he like 28 or something like that? He's like Brandon Whedon from Oklahoma State University. He said it during the game. I was like, this man is 28. Okay.
Yeah. I think he is. Let me see.
He made a lot of plays, though, with his feet, though.
It was impressive. I think there was one, I believe, when they were down 40-33, and it was 3rd and goal, and he was pretty impressive with his feet in the pocket. He was in the pocket and stepped out real quick, went to the right, and just wide open.
Because Notre Dame typically only has, like, they play really strong defense. They have really strong defensive line talent, and then they really rely on, like, minimal plays with a quarterback. So it was surprising to see them have a quarterback that can make plays.
Right. So Notre Dame's QB Ian Book, this is his 4th year. So he's just a 4-year senior. didn't show his age, which I'm going to right now. He's only 22 years old.
I feel like he's been there for forever.
He's been there for 4 years, so yeah, it is pretty much forever. So, but yeah, he's a 4-year senior, so he's 6 feet, weigh about 206 pounds. So
yeah, he's one
we'll
of those.
see if he can keep him afloat. See if he keep him afloat. Now, from college football on to what I have to say is probably my favorite topic. I save it for last only because we can talk about this all day. The NBA. The NBA. Yeah.
Let's go.
Greg, who normally likes talking about basketball in here? Go ahead, play it for me, man.
Huh?
Play it for me. Who we missing? Man, my man Brooklyn loves talking to the NBA, but he's not here.
Where you at?
Where you at? So, getting on NBA topics, we now know that the 2020-2021 season is set to start December the 22nd and have a 72 regular season, 72 game regular season, finish up right before the Olympics start in 2021. And you know, players get to keep their salaries. There's not going to be a rip-up of the CBA because I was concerned of it. But the draft starts, NBA draft is on the 18th of November, right? Looking for, you know, some of these young cats to get opportunity to work out with their teams. December the 1st, I think that's when they can start having those full workouts. And then, you know, they're getting ready to rumble on the 22nd. Not sure if they're going to have preseason games, which is my concern. I'm very concerned if they don't have preseason games because we've seen how many injuries have taken place in the NFL. So, Alejandro, you know, give me some of your pros and cons of, you know, having this season start on the 22nd of December versus possibly moving it back.
Well, definitely what you were mentioning is the possibility of injuries because it's 72 games in you know, a time frame when they're usually fit, I don't know, maybe 60 or 65 or something like that. You know, the season usually starts by the end of October. And so it's like a month and a half or so, almost 2 months that they're losing in time, you know, but they're trying to make up in games. Definitely that's why there are reports of concerns about jamming this 72 game season in this time frame, because of course, as we have seen in the football season in the NFL this year, there have been a lot of soft tissue injuries, you know, especially for the 49ers, you know, they have been suffering that effect. So there are concerns that can happen also in the NBA, you know, possibilities for ACLs and again soft tissue injuries that, you know, affect basketball players so much. Yeah. So also, you know, the other concern is about the turnaround of the teams that were in the bubble. You know, they just finished their season, barely 2 months. When was the date that the Lakers won?
The Lakers won in early October. It's like October.
Early October.
Something.
So it's a little, you know, a little over 2 months for them to start.
Right.
What you were saying, you know, we don't know if they're going to have a preseason. They're going to have a chance to get their legs, you know, under them. The pros, of course, for us, the fans, is that we get the game back. It's a lot of games, 72 games.
October the 11th was their last game that they played. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, it's close to a full regular season of 82 games. So the pros, it's definitely mostly for us, the fans, that we get to watch the game. And also about, you know, another con, it's the traveling. I'm pretty sure that they haven't discussed anything about having a bubble again. So they're going to be traveling to the arenas and like the MLB and the NFL is doing right now. So with the whole COVID situation, it's bound to happen that they're going to have players in the injury list because of COVID. So
Lemon Pepper Lou.
PJs, all PJs.
Right.
Pride.
Nah, man, it's this is really bad. Go ahead, Brandarius. Give me your take, brother. Give me a pro, give me a con. Actually, Alejandro, did you give me a pro? Oh, you said
Yeah.
you got that. Go ahead, give me a pro and a con, Mr. Brandarius, Mr. BG.
You know, as far as pros, I don't have pros for the entire NBA. The only thing I can think of is revenue, and it's a business, and you're trying to get it going, and you're trying to give the fans what they want. I think that's the only pro that you can get out of this for the entire NBA. But if you break it down, the teams that didn't go to the bubble, those hungry teams that are sitting there waiting for it, for example, the Warriors, I mean, when they come back, and they're going to have about 275 days off compared to the Los Angeles Lakers, which they're going to have the shortest offseason, I think, in sports history. I don't know. Fact check me.
Yeah.
I think in sports history is the shortest offseason ever. So, another con would be injuries. If there's not going to be no preseasons, I think there's definitely going to be some injuries there, man. We saw it with the NFL. And I'm kind of concerned that it's a 12-man roster, 15-man roster. Is they going to get bumped up to maybe 20 just to have, some guys ready for that COVID-19, being on the list there? Do you just have a bunch of guys from the G League, getting ready to be called up? Or how is that going to play out? Because, if one person is affected by it, they're in a locker room and there's only, that many people in there. So it's kind of concerning,
Yeah. G-Reg.
Pros, everybody gets paid. We get to watch basketball. Cons, definitely injuries and COVID. So there we go.
Perfect, simple breakdown. So I want to bring us back to the year of 2011, 2011-2012 NBA season, right? We had a lockout. We had a lockout that year. They ended up only playing, what was it, about 60 games, right?
60, yeah.
And
60.
The Spurs and the Bulls had the best record at 50-10, okay? And what ended up happening in those playoffs? We had a man by the name of Derrick Rose was looking great. He was ascending still, ending up tearing his ACL, MCL. Was it ACL or was it Achilles? It was the ACL, MCL.
ACL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he hadn't been the same since, And that was when they were playing 60 games, okay? And they started Christmas Day. Think about that. 60 games, Christmas Day. They had certain times where they were playing back to back to back. And now you're asking these guys to go out there and play a 72-game season in just about the same amount of time that you did with that season? Like, come on now. That's a little – like, are y'all going to have them – are they going to be playing them back-to-back-to-back games? Because that's something we still don't know yet. Are they going to have more back-to-back games? Like, I'm not sure of, what they're planning to do. Obviously, COVID is going to be, something that's going to have to be addressed and dealt with because, don't get me wrong, we know that these players, right, ones that just – they aren't married. They have their girlfriends. They have their little lady friends. They get to certain cities, and you get that little text, your girlfriend back at home and say, hey, where's my little side piece? You know what I'm saying? You'll come through, blah, 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 I'm going to come see you. Anyway, I'm not going to put them out there. Point what I'm saying is they're obviously going to break protocol. So very concerned about that. Plus side, we do get basketball back. It is going to be nice to see these college stars, get a chance to star in the NBA. As we know, the Spurs may possibly, make some moves, be active, which I will touch on in just a second.
Spurs and 4, baby. Let's go.
So it'll be great to see these college stars get an opportunity to go out there and make a name for themselves, help out these teams. For those specific teams that haven't played since March, 200 and what do you say, BG, 270-something days?
Yeah, it's about 275, 278, if I'm not mistaken.
Jeez, like that's a long time. And obviously it's going to suck for those teams that were in the bubble till, through late September all the way through October like the Lakers and the Heat were. So, you know, we'll see. But I'm gonna throw this out there. We'll discuss this on the next segment. LeBron James wins the championship this year and comes out balling like he is, or like he has been. I may move him up a little bit, but we're gonna talk about it another day. I want to specifically to close out the show, guys. I want to specifically talk about two specific teams while we're here because Alejandro, I believe you're a Mavericks fan.
I'm a Mavericks fan. That's right.
You're a Mavericks fan. He's not a Spurs fan. I have to correct myself.
I gotta go.
Go, Luka Magic, my man.
Right. So I'm going to talk about three specific teams to close out the show. We want to talk about the Mavericks, the Spurs, and the Wizards. Branderis, you being the Wizards fan. BG, we touched on this a little bit the other day. So Alejandro, I'm going to start with you. Dallas right now came in. They got the seventh seed in the bubble this past season. Obviously, we heard about the news about Porzingis had surgery on his knee, and we just don't know what he's going to look like this year. What pick are they in the draft this year?
I'm not sure about that actually. I don't know exactly what pick they have. I'm pretty sure it's not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's not that high. They did quite well this season. That's the thing about Porzingis, you know. That was the concern when they got him. He was coming off his ACL injury from New York. He recovered and he started playing well again, especially this season, meshing well with Luka. The Mavericks still lack a big man, a presence, a defensive presence that for that can make a stop when it matters. They still lack that more physicality in their game. They have a good team, but they're not great yet. Luka is great, but he cannot do everything. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out this season. Coming off of this season that they just had, that it kind of exceeded expectations a little bit, maybe, especially in the playoffs, because they lost to the Clippers, 4-2. They probably could have extended that to 7 games. Initially,
could have won.
Yeah. Before the series started, I was giving them 1 game. Yeah. I didn't think they were gonna win 1 game.
Yeah.
Once they started playing, I was like, okay, maybe we can push this to 7 games. So it was a good surprise for me. I was pleasantly surprised, especially with that buzzer beater by Luka in the 4th game. So
around the world.
Yeah.
Those, though.
Yeah. So we'll see what they pick in the draft. But in my opinion, they need a big man. They need a big presence, a defensive presence.
Right. So right now they're 18th and 30. They got the 18th and the 31st pick right now in the draft. As far as a big man, you're not wrong with that. What I particularly think that they need, because Kleber he's decent. He's coming along. Don't get me wrong. Boban, you don't like him? I can understand
Kleber,
that.
No, Kleber, I don't know. I think every time I've watched him, he does sing the 3-pointer here and there, but defensively he doesn't do it for me. And then Boban, he's a big man, biggest in the league, but there's something about Boban that I wish they would play him more often.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he's so big, like he could dominate if they played him more often. I don't know what it is. If it is something in his I don't know, physical well-being or something, or if it's something in his
So with that, okay. So because the Spurs had Boban obviously, and I was pissed off when the Spurs let him go. And the thing with it is, I think teams are afraid of when other teams goes and play small ball, he's not going to be able to keep up. But I'm just like, throw him the damn ball and let him get to the rim. Like, he's been effective. He was very effective against the Clippers. The Clippers could not stop him. They could not stop him. But going back to what I was saying, what I think that the Mavericks need to do is they need to they need to make and trade 2 people off of their team. They need to trade Tim Hardaway Jr. and they need to trade Trey Burke because they're not using Trey Burke, even though I like him, but they're not using him effectively. And
Trey Burke kind of exploded in that series against the Clippers.
He did, but the thing is, they're not using him for whatever reason. I don't know why. So in that case, if you're not going to use him, then trade him and get somebody that you feel like you are going to use, and that could be for a big man. You could also, in my opinion, what they need another shooting guard because, like you said, Luka can't do it all on his own. And personally, I think that Luka has maybe a year or two of peaking just a little bit left. And then after that, he's going to go this way. And that's not a bad thing. He's not going to drop off significantly, but I don't think he can get any higher on this thing. Y'all can look at me crazy.
I doubt it, dude. Yeah, I disagree completely.
This is the reason why I'm saying that. Because now he's been in the league. This will be his 3rd year in the league?
3rd year, yeah.
Coming up. So there's a point of where guys start to kind of figure out your game a little bit. And I'm not saying it's going to happen next season or that season after that. After 4 or 5 years in the league, guys are going to start figuring him out and they're going to start planning for him. Obviously, he reminds me of a Harden, right? Maybe not as consistently on the 3-point shot as a Harden, even though I have gripes with Harden too, don't get me wrong. But for Luka, he'll still pass the ball. He'll still average in the 20s, this and that. He'll still get his boards. But I don't think offensively on his scoring, he's going to get that much better than what he is right now. So having said that, you're going to need another guy to come in as a shooting guard or a small forward to help take that team over the top, especially if Porzingis is going to be, in and out with injury because we just don't know what he is going to specifically be like. But I want to give G-Reg and Branderis a chance to respond. So
yeah, but I think you just need to put defensive players that can shoot around Luka, because Luka can break down the defense and get into the paint, and he can either score or he facilitates to whoever's open. So you want to kind of keep the floor open for him. So like you would want like a Drew Holiday next to him, maybe a Jeremy Grant, someone who could take the defensive load and kind of eliminate that. Because I mean, Seth Curry is great, but he's a great bench player. I wouldn't necessarily be starting him. And Hardaway's a bucket, and he's only $18 million, so he's good. I mean, a good bargain, but we definitely want to get better defensively.
Yeah, you can definitely get better somebody than Hardaway. Choose maybe think about trading Hardaway for Karis LeVert. That would actually be a nice little piece to bring alongside there. So they may want to look at that. Brandarius, go ahead.
Like Hardaway, I think the team that the Mavericks had, if Porzingis is healthy, they take that to Game 7, or they actually beat the Clippers. Personally, I think that they need that guy, that 3-and-D guy, because I believe the Mavericks had the highest points per game. They set the record, or it was something crazy where nobody's in the NBA ever. But the thing was that they get into these shootouts with people, and it's 120 to 120. They can't get no stops. And I think if they just bring in a small forward or maybe a power forward, they'd be able to get a couple of stops if they're really good defensively. But it depends on who it is. That's the thing.
Right. Because it's hard to go up and stop, the LeBron James, the Kawhis if they're getting off. If Paul George is on his game, he's a tough one to stop too. So, but the Mavericks are trending in the right direction. We'll see who they're able to get in the draft moving forward for sure. So, I want to move on now to the Wizards. Mr. Gilmore. You and I discussed about the Wizards in the previous episode, and we had some interesting trades that we're thinking about doing. So go ahead and just give us the breakdown of your team.
So the Wizards, we were invited to the bubble just to do some sprints and run back. Did a little workout. I was impressed. No, but, Bradley Beal, he decided to sit out. He had an injury. He was just like, it's not worth it going to be in the 8th seed and facing the Bucks and just getting swept. So I don't blame him. I'm looking forward to John Wall coming back. He's been out for about 2.5 years, 3 years. I don't know when's the last sighting of him. But I'm looking forward to this season. We do have the 9th pick in the draft, if I'm not mistaken. We were talking about it on the last segment. Who do you think we should draft? You know, I've been looking into reports, and it seems like they're invested into Troy Brown Jr. from Oregon. He's developing his shot, and he's pretty good defensively. And we have Rui, Bradley Beal, John Wall, Thomas Bryant. You know, for the East, I do think we could get that 8th, 7th, maybe 6th spot. You know, potentially 6th or 5th, but that's the ceiling if Bradley Beal and John Wall are who we think that they are, or who I think they could be, you know, before John Wall got hurt. So
they are who we thought they were.
Before John Wall was out, I had John Wall and Bradley Beal over CJ and Lillard. And the reason why I said that is because Lillard wasn't what he was right now. Because Lillard right now is MVP. Come on now. But I don't like CJ McCollum. I think he tends to fall off sometimes. I think he's really good. Don't get me wrong. But I'm taking Bradley Beal over him any day of the year. And, you know, I'm a Wizards fan, so you know I like John Wall, but I know Lillard is better.
Right. The only reason why Lillard is a little bit better is because of his three-point shooting. But when he gets in the double team, he gets trapped. John Wall can get you out of that situation.
So the thing about the John Wall and Bradley Beal is defensively, they're better. Before John Wall was hurt, he was arguably the best two-way guard in the league besides CP3. But for his age and what he was doing, and you're going to see when he comes back, I've been seeing these pickup games where he's guarding Harden, and he's guarding these guys already. I'm looking forward to it, but, you know, he's got to stay out the club. And he's got to get his mind right and go get a championship for Washington.
Yeah.
Playing cards online on live TV.
That was so disrespectful, man.
What is
oh yeah,
you got a question for me, big dog?
a good sign.
Right. So Alejandro and G Ray, just to kind of catch y'all up for what we were talking about. I specifically was saying maybe not now, but the season before and prior before that, I felt like Beal and McCollum, if they traded teams, each one of those teams would get better, in my opinion. Reason for that, for me saying that, John Wall is a very ball-dominant guard, right? And Beal also has to have the ball in his hands. So they tend to clash on that front. Because John Wall's like, I got to get up my shots, but he's not a good three-point shooter. So they weren't able to get over the hump. And when it comes to Portland and Dame and McCollum, if Dame gets double teamed, CJ tends to possibly not show up. So then what happens to Dame? He gets locked up. He has to force up bad shots, and they end up losing. So I'm like, if you throw a Bradley Beal on Portland's team, now you got another guy who can create their own shot, even though McCollum can do it as well. But Beal he's just better than McCollum, right? In that situation, I think Portland gets better and they move up. Now, putting McCollum on the Wizards team helps because he can now still be a spot-up shooter, and he doesn't necessarily command the ball, even though he can do it if John Wall is not getting. So John Wall, number one, gets to get up his shots, okay? If he's missing, now you can give the ball to McCollum and have him help you and take you there, you know, to the next level. So for me, I feel like that trade would work. Obviously, you could throw a couple pieces in here, there, whatever. But I think that would help both teams, you know, to you know, get the most potential out of both of those players. Thoughts on that, Alejandro?
That's like a perfect scenario for Portland. Actually, I think Portland will come out winning in that trade. Yeah, I mean, Portland would just get so much better, in my opinion. It would probably work. The thing about those trades is that sometimes you think on paper it looks so much better for Portland, but then again, the chemistry comes into play. And what if CJ McCollum, you know, has better chemistry with John Wall, and then the team explodes? You never know about those trades. It's all about team chemistry at the end of the day. So on paper, it looks a better trade for Portland. But then again, what you're mentioning is true. So that could end up being even a more important factor at the end of the day when it comes to playing in the actual games for Washington, for the Wizards.
Right. And I think so. In seeing that there, too, I think would also attract another guy wanting to come play with Washington if they see that chemistry there. Because a lot of times, what do we see with Washington? Wall and Beal doing what? Bumping heads, even though they're like, oh, yeah, we're all good, da-da-da-da-da. And then you get on the court and you still see a little bit of this jib jab. So, you know, that would have been an interesting trade that I would have liked to see. G-Reg.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I just kind of a more of a Portland trade would win that trade. It's kind of a wash to me. I think what's more importantly for both teams is getting a 3-and-D small forward. That's what they've been lacking, both of them.
Right. Which I think in the draft they'll probably, you know, be able to get a guy.
Yeah, I think one of them's gonna probably. I mean, I would swing on Gordon Hayward. I would start swinging on small forwards and taking a chance because like that's one of the most important positions you need, and it's just, you can't just keep losing and saying that you don't have a small forward.
Right.
Jeremy Grant,
absolutely.
Haywood.
Hayward, yeah.
Throw whatever small forward. Maybe even Tobias if they want to give you some picks for him.
Yeah. The report came out that the Magic actually are interested in trading Aaron Gordon. That'd be a nice little piece if somebody wanted to go after him.
Right. That would be a nice piece, which I heard, you know, Aaron Gordon just has to improve that shot. Once he does that, they'll be good. They'll be good. So
he's like a good small ball power forward, like the right team.
I agree. So now moving on to the final topic of the night, San Antonio Spurs.
Let's go, baby, world champions.
Okay.
Don't hate the player, hit the game.
So here's a couple of things that I want to bring up. Right now, as presently constructed, which I hope they don't keep, the Spurs would miss the playoffs no matter who they draft and probably win about 30 games again next season and probably would be in that same rut for the next 3 to 4 years. I don't see them, you know, making any big-time moves to get out of that. But check this out. The team by the name of the Golden State Warriors could become the dumbest team, in my opinion, if they make this trade. Trading their second overall pick, and probably I'm guessing maybe a Wiggins or somebody else on their bench to the Spurs for LaMarcus Aldridge and the Spurs 11th pick. That would be the dumbest thing I have ever witnessed, because why the hell would you not draft James Wiseman? He's your missing piece. He's what you need if you're the Warriors. He's 7'1". He's a lefty. He has a jump shot. You can run, throw him alley-oops all day. Like, I know it's a win now because Steph is getting older, Clay is getting older, Draymond Green. I get it. I understand that. But to have a guy like a James Wiseman who is essentially, they say he's a Chris Bosh, bump all that. I could see him being another coming of like a David Robinson with, you know, a little bit more range. This dude is going to be nice. He's probably the best player in the draft, but obviously Minnesota's the number one pick, so he doesn't want to go to Minnesota and play with Towns.
Nobody does. Reports are nobody wants to go to Minnesota. That's why they're trying to trade it.
Right. So, but I mean, hey, if they want to do that and you know, give the Spurs a second overall pick, I'm game. Now, if Minnesota trades their number one pick to somebody like the Hornets, who are also trying to trade I think they're the 4th overall pick to Minnesota, and then they draft Wiseman, that would really piss me off.
Yeah, I would just do it for Wiseman. That's the only thing.
I mean, obviously the Spurs could try to get the kid out of USC. He got the long last name. I'm not going to try to call him Big O. That's what I'm going to call him. Big O.
You know Hills O.
Right. So that's one trade. Another one, guys, was possibly sending a DeMar DeRozan to the Lakers in exchange for, it was like a Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green, and it was like a 2022 draft pick. So I'm like, I don't want Danny Green back on the Spurs. We just got rid of this guy.
Green Ranger back, baby.
No, I don't want him.
Spurs Hall of Famer.
Yeah, like Kuzma might be a nice little piece. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want Danny Green back. No, absolutely not. And then my own little trade scenario, if the Spurs were able to trade DeMar DeRozan to Minnesota, which if they bought on that, I'd be cool with it, and get that number one pick and draft James Wiseman. I just want James Wiseman. Please. 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 Okay, G-Rag.
What's
What
going
do you
on?
take on the Spurs,
We need help. We need to trade everybody. Get everybody out of there.
including Derek White?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, trade. You got to trade Derek White, man.
Derek White is the truth. He's my Lord and Savior. I love you, Derek.
Ah!
Thank you for all your-
Lonnie Walker.
Lonnie Walker, please be aggressive this year. We need you. DeJounte Murray, please do something.
This is DeJounte's last season, or else he's gone.
Yeah, DeJounte, come on, man. We need help here. We invested a lot of money, a lot of time in you. I know you were clutch. I know you got the shoe deal. I know you want to take over the team, but you got to show me something. Otherwise, you're going to be off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need small forward. We need big man.
Big man more than anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, Wiseman's probably – it depends. I mean, apparently everybody's not very high on Wiseman. I understand Golden State. I mean, Minnesota because they got Towns, so and then he doesn't want to go where someone's already there in his position. He wants to play right away. Yeah. And then Golden State looking at it like, is this 19-year-old center going to be physically and mentally ready to help us compete? Or is he going to be like
yes,
constantly get fouls, constantly make dumb mistakes? Is this someone we can trust? So everybody's trying to get out of their positions. Everybody's not too sold on this draft at all. That's where you can see most mock drafts. They're all over the place.
It's ridiculous. Wiseman is solid. I'm not sold on LaMelo. I'll say that.
LaMelo, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Anyway, Alejandro, give me your take on the Spurs, man. What do you think they should do?
I mean, talking about that trade, what you're saying, I have in my notes when you send me the topics for the show. The trade Aldridge to the Warriors. I have why, and it doesn't make sense for Warriors because it doesn't. It just doesn't. It doesn't make sense for what they need right now. For the Spurs, maybe.
No explanation needed.
Conspiracy theory here.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but continue.
The Spurs, they have a long way ahead. It's been tough, since Victor retired. There's no longer anything with Manu, Tony, Duncan. They're gone. Wow. The only thing that's left is Popovich, and some players might want to come here and play in the system. It's a system, and Pop has made it work for 20 plus years. And they almost made the playoffs, even with this, such a crappy roster that they had for this season. So what if they had a good player? What if they had a couple of good players in there? Like they could still be, maybe not contenders, but be someone in the Western Conference that is so tough right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. All I know is that trade does not make sense for the Warriors. So I'll just leave it at that.
That's all you got to say. Brandarius.
I agree with Alejandro about the trade does not make sense for the Warriors whatsoever. I think that if they're going to trade the pick, they move back and they get multiple assets. I don't see LaMarcus Aldridge being that person. He's going to have to play the center. And, I mean, he's really good, but he needs the ball in the low block, and I just don't see that meshing well with them.
He started shooting threes a little bit, though.
Oh, yeah, he's pretty nice. He's got the shot. What I do see is if they're not sold on Wiseman and they're going into the draft, I believe that they should make a package deal for Wiggins in that pick and go and get a veteran guy. I don't know who, but they should do that. I think that would be the smartest move by them. And I compare Wiseman to Kevin Looney. I know you were saying that you were questioning if they would be able to, not his game or anything like that. What I'm saying is that you were saying that bringing a young guy in and will he be able to contribute with those dumb fouls and being able to do stuff like that, the pick and roll. And then now look at Looney now. He's actually pretty solid with them. And they do that with those centers with like Maurice Spates, Mo Buckets, Looney. You saw Jordan Bell was contributing, Mo Spates wasn't young, but, these young guys coming in playing with Curry and Clay, all you got to do is set some screens and some off-ball screens, and we're going to get you wide open because they're going to have to double team. So I think the smartest move is to draft Wiseman. I think that's the smartest move.
Yeah. Don't compare him to Kevin Looney. Kevin Looney going to
He's over
not have a shot.
Hall of Famer, and then Brandon.
Not like that. Not that type of
Kevin
Looney.
Yeah, no, man. But I got you. Yeah, drafting Wiseman would be the best really would be the best option for them.
Oh, and for the Spurs, I think that they should just blow it up. I think coming into next season, you're going to see the Suns coming up there. You're going to see the Warriors coming up there. Do you really think the Spurs are going to be able to go up there and compete? Might as well blow it up now and get assets for DeRozan and LaMarcus now. Get ahead of the game.
Derek White.
Just do it. I don't know about Derek White. I mean, Greg loves Derek White. I don't know about that.
I got it, man. He's my rider.
Lonnie Walker. I think Lonnie Walker should be getting the ball, and I think he's a walking bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah. He really, really is, man. He really is. Yeah, you know, I'm obviously the Wiseman thing is a big shot and it's a long shot. I've always been advocating throughout the whole season to get a more realistic pick, and his name is Azubuike from Kansas. A big man. He's about 7'1", has good hands. He's just been hit with injuries, but he would be a good guy to get on the Spurs team just for rebounds, because the Spurs are one of the worst rebounding teams in the league. Like, you to have to just pay like a Jakob Poeltl. By the way, he's valued on the market at $13 million. I know if I cut in and out, but Jakob Poeltl, $13 million to possibly pay this man to come back? No,
Goodbye.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Oh, so reports are that we're tied to Patrick Williams and Jaden McDaniel at the 11th pick.
Say it one more time. I'm sorry. It's cutting off in my.
I was going to say reports are, most recent reports are that the Spurs are tied to Patrick Williams from Florida State, the man off the bench, and Jaden McDaniels, the highly talented prospect out of Washington. Kind of had a down freshman year.
Right. So, both are small forwards, correct?
Yeah, Jaden McDaniels. To me, Jaden McDaniels is more a fluid athlete that could possibly play small forward. I think Patrick Williams reminds me more of a power forward, kind of, but he might be able to play small forward. I got to see it because he's kind of tight in the hips and kind of not like robotic, like almost like a RJ Barrett kind of like stiffness.
Okay. I got you. Well, absolutely.
And it's a little scary getting a 6-man. Like, it reminds me of when UNC, when they drafted Marvin Williams, when he was a 6-man at like top 3, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to draft a 6-man that high.
No, I totally agree. Well, guys, we will have more time to assess all these draft picks and stuff in about a week and a half when we have stats versus facts. The pre-draft and post. Well, we'll be doing a pre-draft, during, and post-draft show. So we'll have everybody back to talk about the teams. It's going to be dope. So
John Wall.
Everybody be ready for that. Everybody ready for that. But that's going to be the end of this show, man. Hey, we had a good show on, brothers. I really appreciate everybody. Like always, you can always catch us on Breaker. You can catch us on Radio Public. You can catch us on Google Podcasts. You can catch us on Spotify. And you can catch us on Anchor.fm. You can also catch us on that YouTube under what? Stats versus Facts, Sports Talk. Again, Stats versus Facts, Sports Talk. Check out the Twitter and IG page under SVF Sports Talk for sure. And Mr. Alejandro, where can the lovely people follow you at, my brother?
My social media at Alejo Diaz7, Twitter and Instagram. And of course, our newscast at Univision Media Lab on Instagram and Twitter as well. And I believe it's Enlace News on YouTube.
Yes, it is Enlace News on YouTube. Yep. So I'm excited to hopefully be joining as the intern over there too. So absolutely. Well, hey, man. This was a great show. We covered a lot of stuff. We went straight through. You know, I was like, man, we don't need no breaks. Cut them breaks out, man. My show, and we going straight now. But, man, Alejandro, we thank you so much for being on the show with us, brother. You know, you're welcome back anytime, for sure. And again, thank P. Hawk for being on as well, Pear Brown Hawkins, Brandon
Good luck on the season,
True.
Jaguars.
Because-
You're with us now too, brother, for sure. Joy having you on, G-Rag, my man. It's all knuckleheads. Oh, I think I ended up cutting out. I think I ended up cutting out.
We hear you, baby. We'll hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
Oh, now you're back.
Hear you.
I'm back. Well, hopefully I can get a better internet connection. We appreciate everybody being on. For G-Reg, Brandarius, and Alejandro's been your boy Marsh, and we'll catch y'all next time on that.
Stats versus facts. Ayy. Stats versus facts. Ayy. Know where we at on the stats versus facts. Yeah, my boy, hella black. He black. On the stats versus facts. And you might get smacked by the stats versus facts. Ayy.